everyone, welcome to this video where I will be answering the question, should you buy smartphone zoom lenses from Wish.com? If you haven't heard of Wish.com, it is basically just an online store with some pretty unique products, and also what most people come to Wish for is the low prices compared to other retailers like Amazon. But in this video, I'm only going to be talking about a very narrow category of products, smartphone zoom lenses. For the evaluation of Wish zoom lenses, I bought 3 phone lenses of varying magnifications ranging from 8 times to a supposed 50 times. If you don't want to watch the whole video, then you can skip to the timestamp shown on screen just for the conclusion. Okay, now let's look at the 3 phone lenses that I got on Wish. Here's the first lens. This lens was only $7 and it has an advertised magnification of 8 times. It was packaged in this small plastic Ziploc bag, and here's a quick unbagging of that. Here's the second lens. This lens was $1 more than the first lens, but it can magnify a subject 20 times, which is more than twice as magnified as the previous lens. This 20 times zoom lens came in an oddly exposed hard plastic molding, and here is me quickly taking the lens out of its plastic molding, which sort of looks like it was damaged in shipping. Here is the third lens. This lens was quite a bit more expensive than the other 2, and it promised a lot more magnification for the money. It has an advertised 50 times magnification. This lens was packaged very nicely in a box with all kinds of information on the outside and even some pictures. Okay, those are all the lenses. For this evaluation, I took photos of fairly close subjects and also fairly far subjects using each lens. And now let's look at those. First, we'll start with the 8 times lens looking at a fairly close subject, only a few hundred feet away. And here's the 8 times lens looking at a nearby house. As you can see, it has a very short focusing range, and I could only focus on the window and basically nothing else. Where the lens could focus, it did pick up a fine amount of detail, but where it couldn't, it looks pretty blurry and also quite distorted. Here's a second photo from the 8 times lens. As you can see, the small focusing range problem carries through to this image. I could only focus on the roof, and there's a lot of rainbow coloring around the edges of some objects. And here's the 20 times lens looking at the same house. It has a lot more distortion at the bottom right corner of the window since it's zoomed in, but overall it has the same amount of detail as the 8 times lens, and it also has the same rainbow problem on edges of objects, even though I had the lens and phone mounted on a tripod. And last, and also very possibly least, is the supposed 50 times magnification lens, and obviously, just by looking at the zoom comparison between this lens and the other 2, this is not magnifying the subject 50 times, only about 8 times. Another downside to this lens is that it creates a circular image, not a rectangular one, as it's probably meant for your eye. Okay, with all that aside, we can now look at the image. What surprised me about this lens was not the focusing range or distortion. In fact, this probably has the worst distortion of all the lenses. But it was the detail that surprised me. If you digitally zoom on the image it created, you'll notice that there is significantly more detail in the window, and I could even get it to partially focus on the ponderosa pine tree. And just for a control image, I took the same shot with only the phone's built-in 2 times optical zoom lens, and then zooming in 5 times digitally. And the photo is unsurprisingly less distorted and completely in focus. But what did surprise me was that the Wish zoom lenses had more detail where they did focus. Now for the next subject, I chose something relatively far, the peak of a mountain range a few miles from where I live. And here's a shot I took using the 8x magnification lens. As you can see, there's quite a bit of distortion around the edges, and the rainbow problem continues, but I would also like to note that this shot was taken freehand without a tripod. Next is the shot using the 20x lens. This image is very similar to the shot using the 8x magnification lens. The only real difference is that more of the mountain is distorted since the image is more zoomed in. And now the shot from the last lens. This shot actually looks, in my opinion, the best out of the three lenses, solely because the distortion gives it an old sort of magnifying glass look as it curves around the edge of the circle. I tried removing the outer edge of the circle and the image looks pretty nice. Okay, for the conclusion, just to straight up answer the question, should you buy smartphone zoom lenses from Wish.com? And my simple answer is no. Even though the lenses may be a few dollars less or even many dollars less than some Amazon lenses, the month-long shipping times and bad craftsmanship leading to ridiculous amounts of distortion just aren't worth it. For testing, I also bought an Amazon lens, similar to the one shown on screen, to compare the Wish lenses to, and I can affirmatively say that it was a much better quality lens than all of the Wish lenses, and that if you are on the market to buy a smartphone zoom lens, either buy a decent quality looking one on Amazon, or buy a cheap compact camera with optical zoom like an old used Canon ELPH camera. That said, I am done with today's video, so bye everyone!